Radio in motion. Program loading in 3, 2, 1. Program activated.
Attention everyone, the unpleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake.
Okay, first things first, what is your name?
This is Big Sonny playing the best of the 90s and beyond.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Radio in motion.
Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go.
All right, ready? Here we go.
Radio in motion.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining me tonight on our Tuesday night party. We really, like I say, need to heat things up because it is freezing outside. We are dead in the middle of winter, let me tell you what. All right, thanks for joining me on this episode of The Ugly Truth. And the ugly truth is AI as bad as everyone thinks? As a typical Gen Xer, I always assume it's coming after us in the way of, Terminator or The Matrix. It's something to where we're going to be plugged in and used as energy for all the AI and robots while we're in some virtual dream state. Or, frankly, it'll just come after us hard, like Terminators trying to just blatantly kill us and start Armageddon. But the funny thing is like anything, there's a positive side and a dark side, and usually it's humans that do it to themselves. I could say the same just for the internet in general. I think going in the Wayback Machine, the 90s, the altruistic idea of being able to communicate with everyone around the world and exchanging ideas, and that ultimately communication and being able to build on ideas and being able to have access to so much information on such a large scale is nothing but positive. How could it be anything but positive? Well, I'll get stuck into that a little bit later, because I think, as always, humans find the dark side, and the dark side is us being siloed in our own little shell of social media, and starts off good, starts off with connections like a web. How amazing. But unfortunately, that also comes at a price, because information is so readily available, but we're doing it again from a sort of a virtual reality where we're losing that actual human one-on-one connection. And I dare say in some ways that could be positive. Maybe, people can meet people in a safer environment. But the dark side of that is people can also have an opinion, as we all are allowed to do. I'm a huge proponent for freedom of speech. There is only freedom of speech. There's not hate speech or good speech or bad speech. There is only speech, and you need to decide what to do with it. But along with that comes the ability to say whatever you want without any repercussions. So anyway, that's just a bit of the dark side of that. But first, I suppose I want to put a bit of a different spin when we think about AI in general. Is AI an inevitable part of human evolution? So, maybe you believe that we've all been round the horn before. This has all happened before. Whether the universe expands and then just explodes into nothing and starts again. The point is in each of those timelines, if you think of something like that, do humans always end up in the same place? As in, we get so cocky and into ourselves, and we're so proud of ourselves that we create our own idea of life. We replace God by becoming God, and we create AI, and it inevitably destroys us. That's one thought. But I also, I always think of AI as, remember, before it gets insidious and tries to kill us all, like anything, it's a tool. And from day one, humans have always found a way or searched for a way to alleviate the burden of heavy labor or work. And that even you could go back to saying, with the invention of the wheel or fire, everything is about trying to work smarter because it takes a lot of work to adapt the world to our needs. So AI is just another tool. I put it like this. It's like from Oxen to algorithms. We've always naturally used animals. I mean, that was the start. There's some dude down by the river, a 1,000 years ago, and he's thinking, all right, I need 20 dudes to carry these logs over here, and we need to build the structure, and it's going to take us forever. Or I could just grab one elephant and carry all the logs at once. I'm just saying, we've always searched for that anyway. So it started off with animals, seeing how we can use them to, again, unload our burden and be able to maximize our output rather than having to use 20 or 50 people to do a job that maybe a large animal can do, a large oxen pulling something. And again, to this day, in many countries, that kind of thing is still used. Whether we're riding horses to get from A to B, before there was horsepower, there was horses. And it was a way we could get across such vast distances without having to just walk. So again, AI is just a natural evolution of that. It's just a smarter, more autonomous, continuation of that path of, finding a way for convenience is our goal. So again, that's how to look at it. It's a tool. And the next part was, machines, the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, whatever machine we came up with. There was always a fear that we were moving so fast that some humans, naturally, as we all do, we're scared of how it's going to affect us. Am I going to lose something? Am I going to lose my job? This is nothing new. This goes back to the Industrial Revolution. All the machines were replacing the most simplest things. Someone weaving together one sweater or one shirt. And then there's all the machines that came along to weave them together quicker, and that's the start of that. Every machine, the assembly line, building it one car from scratch, from the ground up, or Ford using the idea of each portion does one part and it goes along the assembly line, and the car is built faster, and then you mass produce. So again, AI is a natural evolution of that. But I also did want to touch on, of course, I do touch on all the sci-fi things. There are so many, there's so much literature, like anything in life, where humans have already thought of so many paths that we can take. And I think that's what's so amazing about us, is we are able to make that leap to, well, I don't have all the facts. I don't see it in front of me. I don't actually know how it will come to fruition. But the fact is, even just the genre of science fiction, for hundreds of years, in an age where there was nothing even conceivable like AI and robots and flying cars and all this stuff, people were already writing about our possible dystopian futures. And so, I love to delve into some of those and see, have we caught up? Is it what's expected? Is it Orwell's 1984? One of the ones I'm most fascinated about is Isaac Asimov, I, Robot. Whether you read the book or the movie. The movie's actually not that bad. Will Smith, before he went, the fascinating thing about that one, and sorry, if you haven't seen it by now, I can't help you. Mild spoilers. The fascinating thing about that one is iRobot. This one was about a future where AI was very prominent, and there are actually physical robots around everywhere. And again, I'm sure you've seen, whether it's Elon Musk or any other company right now racing towards that, I'm sure you're seeing the robots doing more and more. And once you marry the physical robot machine to the AI, well, you've got iRobot or Terminator or anything. But with iRobot, the fascinating thing is Asimov's 3 laws. So, and I'm always curious about that now too, because AI isn't sprung out of nowhere. It is still humans creating it. It's humans creating the logic within it. And along with that, you have to set the parameters as like a difference engine. It's not just about yes or no. It is obviously thinking and beyond that. But what values are being instilled, or if any, are there any guardrails, and who's typing that in, and how are they doing that? Again, you could go into a full rabbit hole, but you can understand it's coming from a human. So who is that human, and what are they putting into it from themselves? So the 3 laws. This was a fascinating one, essentially, and this was about what was built into all the AIs in the story of iRobot. Is that a robot cannot, period, harm a human in any way, or by inaction allow a human to be harmed. So if it sees a human being hurt, it is bound by its actual programming that it can't go, as smart as it gets, the program is built in as a baseline. It can't harm humans. So that sounds good. That's one. And of course, it expands on that, and that the second is that it can't, it is allowed to protect itself. Now that's the interesting one, is it's allowed to protect its own existence. And I think with that one, it conflicts with the other rules, in that what if, it's trying to protect itself, but in the presence of that, it ends up harming a human. So that's all built in to where essentially, it can't conflict with the other rules. The problem is in this story, as it evolves, the part where it's bound to ensure that humans are essentially kept safe, as the AI evolves, it realizes that the only way humans can be safe is, frankly, if they stay indoors, because we're just a menace to ourselves. We always end up getting ourselves in trouble in some erratic way, because we are erratic emotional beings. So in the end, the AI ends up sort of locking people down and saying, we want to protect you. We're here for you. And out of the goodness of our heart, based on our algorithms built in, you have to now stay indoors forever because it's the only way to keep you safe. So that is another interesting, part about how even if you write something in that you think is there to protect you, AI could probably find a way to turn that on its head. And in the end, you end up in trouble anyway. So I think that's certainly an important one. Look, but that's an important one that you have to think about who's putting the guardrails, and are there any guardrails? So as far as taking jobs, you think to yourself, all right, it's coming for our jobs. I won't deny, and I think this is something that everyone has to accept, that a lot of sort of entry-level repetitive jobs are more than likely going to go much sooner than you think. And that's just the nature of it. Whether it's something, a repetitive customer service job or data entry, or something that, again, and I'm sure you've all had one of those jobs, you think, I'm not going to do this forever. And I think the deal there is that, do you really care? So are you really worried about those jobs? Yes and no. I think obviously, like anything, you have to start somewhere. You have to be able to get that world experience. Again, nowadays, everyone just wants to be a TikTok star. I don't think anyone wants a job. But even there, you don't just start off at the top. I don't think that's healthy, because you need to gain that experience. But I'm going to go the other route and say, frankly, some of these sort of jobs, or maybe you have an assistant and their whole job is to just, schedule appointments. And I'll be honest, in the industries I've worked in or work in now, I'm not saying that the people doing these jobs aren't smart. I'm saying they just aren't into it because it's so mundane and repetitive that, frankly, they just keep screwing it up. So that's the other thing, You have to realize, are we actually doing it to ourselves? Don't feel so bad about replacing sort of inefficient systems or people who are themselves inefficient because of a lack of any care for doing a good job. I'm just saying, I'm sure you can think of someone or whatever it is who just continues to do a crappy job, even if it's something simple. Like, you go to rent a car. And, I've heard of horror stories how the simplest thing of renting a car turns into a huge debacle. You go to the desk and they're, oh, sorry, we don't have that car. Oh, but I reserved this car. Yeah, but that's not really how that works. And then it was on hold, but we have this other car. And I'm just saying, even in that industry of sort of customer service and the basics, I think people have such a bad experience. Frankly, if I went up and it was all replaced, and this is terrible, I don't want this to be the case, but if the AI did it more efficiently and no one really gave a crap because we have found a way to create other more interesting roles, more fulfilling roles, which I hope we can do, then I really don't care if it's just a kiosk and I just, hello, welcome. Obviously it won't sound like that, but in my mind it sounds like that. Welcome to Rent-A-Car. Your car is here. Done. Just select the car. The car is waiting, and the robot pulls up, or the car drives itself possibly, pulls up. Hello, welcome. If that runs efficiently with like a 99.9% success rate, that's a hard one to argue with. That's the problem, because no one wants that job anyway. And like I said, this started with, using the animals and using machines. Frankly, did anyone really want to carry, 20 giant logs all the way across from the river to build the house? Or are they happy to not do that? So again, if we're that, dispassionate or lackluster about these sort of entry-level jobs, and AI takes that over and does it much more efficiently, I'm not sure. I feel like we've done that to ourselves. So that's another way to look at that, and that's the first time I've started to think like that. My immediate reaction is, it's coming for our jobs. We need to get smarter quick and just be more responsible about what we plug AI into. But maybe some of those kind of menial jobs, we really don't care. So yeah, the other one is talking about the standard dystopia of like Terminator. They're all coming to get us. But really, I think, there's something else sort of insidious going on. And I do believe it's more along the lines of something like the Matrix. Not necessarily that we are plugged in simply as an energy source for AI because we had some giant war and somehow we blotted out the sun and we took away their solar power. So now they've used the human body, which is, again, totally logical. The amount of power with, mixed with some sort of future fusion totally makes sense. I'm not necessarily going to leap to that one, but I will say the idea of us not living our human lives and living in a virtual reality, I think we're getting there. And that worries me because, like I said before, when I was talking about how the internet started off with such aspirations of us being connected more, how amazing. It's all about connection. And then we found a way to turn it. I'll be honest, I blame Steve Jobs. I've talked about this before. Steve Jobs with that and Apple. I think he also was someone who was not the best spokesperson for the human experience. I think he himself was very introverted. He created that world, and I think he would quite enjoy where we are now, as in we're all on our devices in these silos, rather than really gathering as we normally do as social beings. I think he sort of kicked off that wave, but we just didn't notice how bad it would be. But yeah, rather than having the human experience, which is human connection, we are living this virtual life, our avatars, the way we see ourselves. And now, by the way, with all the amazing AI video and all the things that it can create, you can 100% getting closer to actually creating an avatar and not just an image and not just a really, well done selfie with all kinds of, imaging to make you look your best self. This could be a full video, a full virtual you. So the fact that we're even in that world and everyone's quite happy to do it, that's what's scary. Everyone's in their own bubble. And then I think about, I think it was the movie WALL-E, where in the future, humans left the planet because we had destroyed the climate, destroyed Earth. We were going to come back when it was all better after all the little robots cleaned everything up. But for whatever reason, that ship was out in space longer, and the ship itself was completely run by AI and robots. So the people on board went from normal, healthy humans to big fat tubs of lard, lazy because everything was just brought to them and done for them. Well, let me tell you, you don't think that that's where we are now as well? The fact is you don't have to go outside. And that's a scary thing right there. You don't have to go anywhere. Everything can be brought to you. How do I get money to do that? Well, you also work from home. Again, I'm taking the extreme dark side of what are also some positive things. But if you could just work from home, you don't have to leave home, you don't have to meet anyone, you don't have to socialize, your shopping is online, your food comes to you, your clothes come to you, your TV has a million different streaming channels, you don't need to leave home. And again, I would say to a lesser extent, this is the kind of thing that is happening in Japan. I've heard that's running, quite rampant. Obviously, everyone in the Western world is definitely stuck into their phones, sticking their face in their phones, walking, looking down at their phones more than at other people. But apparently, in Japan, it's even more obvious. Especially the young generation, nobody's leaving their apartment. They just stay indoors and they all just communicate in the virtual space. And it is affecting the most simplest thing of all, procreation, folks. Well, I'm sorry to say at some point you still have to do that. If you want to do it in a petri dish, that's fine. But, there's nothing wrong with the old-fashioned way. But essentially, nobody's going out on dates and meeting each other. And so, their birth rate is declining. That's not a funny thing. I think there's two minds about that. There's some people that just assume that we are the virus and we are just destroying the planet. And I'm not saying that, of course, we are affecting it, and the things we do, we have to be more responsible and conscious about. Having said that, I'm going to be honest, the world is a huge place, all right? We do have an impact, but you need to keep an eye on things like the birth rate of your country if that starts to decline. It's a slippery slope on not being able to continue the species, folks. Like I say, to put it in perspective, and some people don't like this sort of analogy, I think it's actually, if you can do this in a few different ways, taking the population of a whole area and how do we actually fit? Because we don't all, smush together in one giant group. We're pretty spaced out, even though, there are billions of us, we are spaced out on this earth. Yes, we're concentrated in cities. But the point is like the entire population of Australia, everyone, technically, if we were stacked up, as in, literally smashed up against each other, bodies all stacked up, kind of like a big rectangle, all side by side, the entire population of Australia would fit just in Central Park in New York, in the U.S. I'm just saying, do you understand that? That's amazing. Obviously, nobody wants to be that close to each other, but the fact is we just took a whole population of a country and smushed them, still alive, by the way, probably hard to breathe, into Central Park, into the park, which is massive, of course, but it's not even the whole state. It's not even the whole city. It's just the park. So I'm just saying, again, with perspective of we are the plague destroying the planet. We need to, birth rates need to decline. No, they don't. We just need to be smart and responsible. So yeah, this is another thing about, like I say, being siloed is sort of a dystopian view, and we're already there. We're in the matrix, okay? Whether you look at it like that or not. And the fact is at some point, not too long from now, you may not be able to distinguish real life from virtual reality. And that in itself is frightening. The other thing is I think a lot of this, the fact that, especially the young generation, they have no social skills. I've seen this firsthand. I've interviewed, young people going for jobs, just getting into the job market. And I have noticed that the ability to have a natural conversation with someone else is problematic. They just don't know how to do it if they're not talking on text with emojis. And I think, especially for younger children, there's this assumption, I think there's this leap to go with everyone's got anxiety, and all I ever hear is ADHD. I'm not saying if anyone is actually diagnosed with that, that's a serious thing. But frankly, I think it gets thrown around like candy these days. I think it's like an easy fix. Everyone's got ADHD, or your kid's got ADHD. That's what it is. You know what? Especially with kids, boys and girls, but I'm going to be honest. Little boys especially. Sorry, folks. I hate to tell you this. There is a difference between boys and girls when it comes to the physical and genetics. Life goes on. Get over that one. Little boys are filled with energy, and again, yes, little girls. But I think that's getting thrown out, especially with boys, so much. He's got ADHD, so let's get the chemical fix. Let's just throw meds at him. Let's medicate him. Now he's fine. Now he's just like, yeah, okay. No, you know what your kid needs? He needs to get off the damn iPad and go outside and build a freaking fort. He needs to get on his bike and go for a ride with his friends. He needs to go outside like little humans need to do and run around like crazy people. That's what kids are. They're crazy wild animals. Let them go be wild. And they're not doing that. They're not getting that outlet. And I'm sorry. That is a huge part of it. The physical part is something. We are filled with energy and hormones and they're raging and adrenaline and dopamine. We already have a finely tuned chemical balance inside. And I just don't think, throwing drugs at it is the fix and saying, every kid's got ADHD. Just send them outside to play, for Christ's sake. Maybe go outside and play with them. How about that? So yeah, I think, I think all with adults too. I'm not going to get too deep with that, but I think with adults, just if you really have something, if you really have a medical condition, of course I'm not knocking that. But sometimes I think, just stop playing the victim, that everything must be someone else's fault. I've got no energy. I'm starting to, I don't want to say you get in trouble if you say someone's gaining weight. But if your weight gain is literally based on the fact that you're at home and not moving and just eating food, I'm sorry to tell you the answer is pretty easy. And it's not Ozempic or some quick fix. You need to start sweating. You need to get on the move. You need to go outside and just be alive. So I also wanted to touch on, I feel like we need to reclaim reality, back to the basics. So again, this idea of everyone's got anxiety and we're unhealthy because we're not living in the now. And this is another, I just said, I don't really care if AI takes the menial tasks. But on the other hand, I think there are some basic things that we need to keep doing. And whether it is going shopping or getting outside and just going for a walk, cooking and cleaning, whatever these things are, I don't think a robot should replace, because frankly, one of the simplest things is you need something to look forward to. You need something to do. And if you're getting to the point where, and it's not just about work goals, but it is about the simple things. I'm going to go for a walk. Again, I'm going to go to the shops rather than just having it delivered to me. Don't offload everything. Doing something in general, it builds pride. There's a presence when you're doing anything, building something. It's something as simple as that. Find a hobby, find something to do, for men and women, go to Bunnings, grab some wood, go build something, have a goal, plan something that uses your skills rather than just your phone. It's not about rejecting AI, but remembering we're humans. We're not just data processors. We are meant to be physical in the world. Hiking, going on a path and feeling the tree, not just looking a tree up on your phone. And you're like, well, not everyone has access to do that. Everyone has access to leave their house. Everyone has access to go outside and experience life and be a part of it. You need to interact with the world. And hey, while you're at it, you might end up interacting with other humans. And that's not such a bad thing. Like when I talk about people, sort of the power of being present, I think a lot of times people aren't. Even when they're at home and they're relaxing, I don't think they're relaxing. If you're on your phone or you're watching TV, and yeah, I grew up watching TV, but I still went outside. the TV didn't have a million streaming channels. There was a movie on, maybe there's a TV show, one of your favorite shows, and you liked it. But the rest of the time was thinking about what you were going to do the next day outside with your friends, what adventure you were going to go on, something you were going to do or build or accomplish. And it wasn't going to get accomplished in the TV. But the power of presence is like, I talk to people about riding a motorcycle. Again, this is one example. There's so many things you can do in the world. The possibilities are endless. I can't help you figure out how amazing the world is. But why is that more interesting than driving a car? I feel driving a car, especially in traffic, but even going for a long drive in a car, especially now that cars are filled with so many gadgets, again, AI, the car is practically driving itself, for God's sake. It's warning you about every little thing. It parks itself. Nobody knows how to park anymore. The motorcycle, even as high-tech as they are, you must be present. You must control the machine. You must be awake and aware. You are there, 100%. Even if, you have the helmet on or gear, I'm saying, yes, feel the wind in your hair and on your face. That's possible too, but you can still be present even with all the gear on. But you are in the world. It is all around you. And again, I'm talking about going for a long ride on a beautiful road, not stuck in traffic. Traffic isn't driving. But yeah, whether it is the beauty, the realism, the experience, the noise, and yes, possibly some of the danger, but that's why you use your brain. Okay, a smart motorcycle rider is controlling the machine. I know you never know what someone else is going to do, but people do get by, and motorcycles are able to get around, and you just hope that the other drivers are also paying attention and hopefully not on their phone, which I see so much of. It's unbelievable. I actually see it. I've seen it in my rear view when someone's come up too close and I see them looking down, and I know 100% they're on their phone. Well, you can't be on your phone while you're riding a motorcycle. You have to control this machine or it's going to fall over you and you're going to die. So that's just one simple example about being present, being in the world and actually experiencing it. And I think we're losing that a lot. And so that's the worry. So where do we go from here? Again, it's not about fearing AI, but don't forget what it means to be human. And choose discomfort over numbness. You know what I mean? Oh, I don't want to go to the shop. I don't want to go. I'll just order it. If you're already feeling like you have no life and you just don't know why, and you're anxious and you're feeling numb, maybe you need to go do something. Maybe you need to get out in life and be a part of it. And if that is a little bit uncomfortable, I would say that is better than going down the rabbit hole of just becoming nothing and not even be a part of the human experience anymore. Your phone is not your friend. I think to do something real is what you need to do, even if it's just taking a walk. So look, that's my 2 cents worth kicking off our chat about AI. There'll definitely be a part 2 where I have a chat with others and get their feedback about this. And be sure to check that on my YouTube channel at Big Sunny TV. And for all of the audio streaming podcasts, it's I'm Not Famous on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all other great streaming platforms. So thank you for joining me tonight on our sort of AI journey from Oxen to algorithms. Like I say, we started off using animals to do our bidding, and AI is just that next version of the animal. So it just depends on what we do next. All right, more great music coming up next on Radio Emotions Tuesday Night Party after word from our awesome sponsors.